join me. Today is day 262 of reading. Today, reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Let's get started. We are currently on page 306. Let's try and get like 9 pages done. Yeah, probably not. Of course, you've looked death in the face before, haven't you? Said Rita Skeeter, watching him closely. How would you say that affected you? Said Harry, yet again. Do you think the trauma in your past might have made you keen to prove yourself? To live up to your name? Do you think perhaps you were tempted to enter the Triwizard Tournament because I didn't enter? Said Harry, starting to feel irritated. Can you remember your parents at all? Said Rita Skeeter, talking over him. No, said Harry. How do you think they'd feel if they knew you were competing in the Triwizard Tournament? Proud, worried, angry? Harry was feeling really annoyed now. How on earth was he to know how his parents would feel if they were alive? He could feel Rita Skeeter watching him very intently. Frowning, he avoided her gaze and looked down at the words the quill had just written. Tears filled those startling green eyes as our conversation turned to the parents, and he can barely remember. I have not got tears in my eyes, said Harry loudly. But before Rita could say a word, the door of the broom cupboard was pulled open. Harry looked around, blinking in the bright light. Albus Dumbledore stood there, looking down at the both of them, squashed into the cupboard. Dumbledore, cried Rita Skeeter, with every appearance of delight. But Harry noticed that her quill and parchment had suddenly vanished from the box of magical mess remover, and Rita's clawed fingers were hastily snapping shut the clasp of her crocodile skin bag. How are you? She said, standing up and holding out one of her large, mannish hands to Dumbledore. I hope you saw my piece over the summer about the International Confederation of Wizards Conference. Enchantingly nasty, said Dumbledore, his eyes twinkling. I particularly enjoyed your description of me as an obsolete dingbat. Rita Skeeter didn't look remotely abashed. I was just making the point that some of your ideas are a little old-fashioned, Dumbledore, and that many wizards in the street, I believe, would be delighted to hear the reasoning behind their rudeness. Rita, said Dumbledore, with a courteous bow and a smile, but I'm afraid we will have to discuss the matter later. The weighing of the wands is about to start, and it cannot take place if one of our champions is hidden in a broom cupboard. Very glad to get away from Rita Skeeter, Harry hurried back into the room. The other champions were now sitting in chairs near the door, and he sat down quickly next to Cedric, who looked up at the velvet-covered table, where the 4 of the 5 judges were now sitting. Professor Karkaroff, Madame Maxime, Mr. Crouch, and Ludo Bagman. Rita Skeeter settled herself down in a corner. Harry saw her slip the parchment out of her bag again, spread it on her knee, sucked the end of the quick-coat's quill, and placed it once more on the parchment. May I introduce Mr. Ollivander? Said Dumbledore, taking his place at the judges' table and talking to the champions. He will be checking your wands to ensure that they are in good condition before the tournament. Harry looked around, and, with the jolt of surprise, saw an old wizard with large, pale eyes standing quietly by the window. Harry had met Mr. Ollivander before. He was the wand maker from whom Harry had bought his own wand over 3 years ago in Diagon Alley. Mademoiselle Delacour, can we have you first, please? Said Mr. Ollivander, stepping into the empty space in the middle of the room. Fleur Delacour swept over to Mr. Ollivander and handed him her wand. He said. He twirled the wand between his long fingers, like a baton, and it emitted a number of pink and gold sparks. Then he held it close to his eyes and examined it carefully. Yes, he said quietly, 9.5 inches, inflexible, rosewood, and containing, dear me, an air from Zed of Avila, said Fleur, one of my grandmothers. So Fleur was part Viola, thought Harry, making a mental note to tell Ron. Then he remembered that Ron wasn't speaking to him. Yes, said Mr. Ollivander. Yes, I never use any viola here myself. Of course, I find it rather makes for a temperamental wand. However, to find each his own, and if this suits you. Mr. Ollivander ran his finger along the wand, apparently checking for scratches or bumps. Then he muttered, "Orchideus," and a bunch of flowers burst from the wand tip. Very well, very well. It's in fine working order," said Mr. Ollivander, scooping up the flowers and handing them to Fleur with her wand. "Mr. Diggory, you're next." Fleur glided back to her seat, smiling at Cedric as he passed her. "Now, this is one of mine, isn't it?" said Mr. Ollivander, with much more enthusiasm, as Cedric handed over his wand. "Yes, I remember it well, containing a single hair from the tail of a particularly fine male unicorn. Must have been 17 hands. Nearly ignored me with his horn after I plucked his tail. 12¼ inches. Ash. Pleasantly springy. It is in fine condition." "You treat it regularly?" "Polished it last night," said Cedric, grinning. Harry looked down at his own wand. He could see finger marks all over it. He gathered a fistful of robes from his knee and tried to rub it clean surreptitiously. Several gold sparks shot out of the end of it. Floyd Delacour gave him a very patronizing look, and he desisted. Mr. Ollivander sent a stream of silver smoke rings across the room from the tip of Cedric's wand, pronounced himself satisfied, and then said, "Mr. Crumb, if you please." Victor Crumb got up and slouched, round-shouldered and duck-footed, toward Mr. Ollivander. He thrust out his wand and stood scowling, with his hands in the pocket of his robes. Said Mr. Ollivander. This is Gregorovitch's creation, unless I'm much mistaken. A fine wand maker, though the styling is never quite what however." He looked at the wand and examined it minutely, turning it over and over before his eyes. "Yes, hornbeam and dragon heartstring?" he shot at Crumb, who nodded. "Rather thicker than one usually sees. Quite rigid, 10¼ inches. Avis." The hornbeam wand let off a blast like a gun, and a number of small twittering birds flew out of the end and through the open window into the watery sunlight. "Good," said Mr. Ollivander, handing Crumb back his wand, "which leaves Mr. Potter." Harry got to his feet and walked past Crumb to Mr. Ollivander. He handed over his wand. Yes," said Mr. Ollivander, his pale eyes suddenly gleaming. Yes. How well I remember." Harry could remember too. He could remember it as though it happened yesterday. 4 summers ago, on his 11th birthday, he had entered Mr. Ollivander's shop with Hagrid to buy a wand. Mr. Ollivander had taken his measurements and then started handing him wands and to try. He had waved what felt like everyone in the shop, until at last he found the one that suited him. This one, which was made of holly, 11 inches long, and contained a single feather for the tail of a phoenix. Mr. Ollivander had been very surprised that Harry had been so compatible with this wand. "Curious," he had said. Curious, but not until Harry asked what was curious had Mr. Ollivander explained that the phoenix feather in Harry's wand had come from the same bird that had supplied the court of Lord Voldemort. Harry had never shared this piece of information with anybody. He was very fond of his wand, and as far as he concerned, his relation to Voldemort's wand was something he couldn't help, rather as he couldn't help being related to Aunt Petunia. However, he really hoped that Ollivander wasn't about to tell the room about it. He had a funny feeling Rita Skeeter's quill might just explode with excitement if he did. Thank you, everyone. That's all for today. Bye. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow we shall read 311. We shall read page 311. Kind of forgot about that part. Peace out.